It was a quiet night. I had just finished dinner, and now I was sitting in the living room of my house watching some TV when suddenly I heard it. Slow, heavy footsteps coming down the hallway. I live alone. My family is away visiting relatives for Christmas. So who could be making that noise? I tried to tell myself not to be ridiculous. There's always some explanation, but my mind raced with all sorts of images. Intruders, homeless people looking for somewhere to sleep, or maybe even a ghost. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom. I froze, unable to move or make a sound. Holding my breath, I turned off the TV and the lights. Just as the footsteps started again and slowly came closer to my bedroom, I heard a knock. I squeezed my eyes shut and hid under the blankets. More knocks. This time they sounded more urgent. Someone or something was trying to get in. Who is it? I called out, my voice shaking. No answer. Who is it? I asked again, louder this time, but only silence responded. I waited, listening intently. Then I heard what sounded like heavy breathing right outside my door, followed by another series of loud knocks. Fear pulsed through me. Whoever was out there seemed to be getting more impatient by the second. What did they want? And why were they making so much noise? I felt a sudden urge to get away, to run and hide. But where could I go? The windows were all closed. I was trapped. Then I remembered my secret passageway, an old tunnel I had discovered while exploring my attic many years before. It led to a small room hidden beneath the floorboards of my closet. I had used it countless times as a kid for imaginary adventures, pretending it was the lair of a secret agent or a pirate cove. But it had been years since I'd visited. I had no idea if it was still there. Struggling to keep my breathing steady, I got out of bed and crept towards the closet. I pulled at the knob, but it was locked. Panic swelled up inside me. Why had I locked it? I yanked at the knob again, but it wouldn't budge. Desperate to get away from the sounds of heavy breathing and insistent knocking, I flung the door open and crawled into the dark space behind. The air was musty and cold, smelling of dust and decay. I felt around in the darkness, my fingers scrabbling on the rough wood until I found a loose floorboard. I pried it up and slid into the narrow gap underneath. The tunnel was just as I remembered, a tight, dark space barely big enough for me to crawl through. Dirt and leaves crunched under my hands and knees as I made my way forward. The air grew thick and stale, making it hard to breathe. Still, I pushed on, driven by the urgency to escape whatever was out there. After what felt like hours, though in reality was probably no more than a few minutes, I saw a faint light ahead. I crawled towards it, my heart pounding, and soon found myself in a small room at the end of the tunnel. I had found sanctuary. I took a moment to catch my breath and listen. I couldn't hear anything from outside. Relief washed over me. I had escaped whatever was out there, but then I realized I didn't know what was out there in the first place. I had been so focused on getting away that I hadn't stopped to think about who or what was trying to break in. Curiosity got the better of me. I knew I should stay hidden, but I couldn't resist the urge to find out what was going on. Slowly and quietly, I made my way back through the tunnel, pushing aside the loose floorboard and climbing out of the closet. I peeked around the corner and saw nothing. Cautiously, I stepped out into the hallway and looked towards my bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, revealing the mess I had made in my haste to hide. I took a deep breath and walked towards it, each step echoing loudly in the silence. As I got closer, I noticed something strange on the floor, a pair of muddy footprints. They were large, almost like a child's. I bent down and ran my fingers over them. They were real, not a figment of my imagination. Whoever or whatever had been out there had left these prints in the soft carpet. A chill ran down my spine, shaking off my unease. I entered my bedroom and started searching for my phone. I needed to call someone, anyone, to help me figure out what was going on. But as I looked around the room, I noticed something else out of place. One of my drawers was slightly open. I had never been so careless as to leave it unlocked. I quickly pulled it shut, my heart racing. Was this intruder still out there? Had they come in while I was gone? Or was this all just a coincidence? I found my phone and dialed my neighbor's number. No answer. Of course, she was out celebrating the holidays with her family. I sighed. I guess it was just my luck to have something happen on the one night my neighbors were out of town. I was about to hang up when the phone started ringing. I jumped, knocking it against the wall. The screen went black. Great. Now not only was I alone, but I was also without my phone. I tried to calm myself down, reminding myself that there was a logical explanation for everything. Maybe it was just a delivery person who had accidentally knocked over a chair and left their muddy boots on the floor. That made sense, right? Slowly, I began to relax. But as I did, the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I could feel eyes on me, watching me from the darkness. I spun around, knocking over a chair. It fell to the ground with a loud crash, just like the footsteps I had heard earlier. I froze, listening intently. Only silence. Must have been the wind, I told myself. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I could feel a presence in the room with me, something unseen lurking just beyond my sight. Fear threatened to overwhelm me. I wanted to scream, to run away, but I forced myself to stay still. I needed to be brave, to face whatever was out there. Taking a deep breath, I reached for the doorknob, intending to lock it. But as my fingers brushed against the cold metal, it turned. I recoiled in surprise as the door swung open, revealing the dark hallway beyond. No one was there. Hesitantly, I stepped out into the hallway and started walking towards the front door. Each step echoed loudly in the silence, amplifying my pounding heart. I knew I should turn on the lights, but I didn't. I wanted to see if I could spot whatever was out there. As I approached the front door, I saw it again. Those same muddy footprints leading away from my bedroom and down the hallway. They were the only evidence that whatever had been there had actually existed. I reached the front door and peered out through the peephole. Nothing. The footprints stopped at the door. Whoever or whatever had been in my house had left. Still, I didn't feel safe. I fumbled for the keys, my hands shaking. Once outside, I quickly locked the door behind me and leaned against it. Taking deep breaths to calm myself down, I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? Someone had broken into my house and left muddy footprints. But when they arrived, they would find nothing. I would look like a fool. With a sigh, I picked up my phone from the ground and started scrolling through social media, trying to distract myself. As I did, I glanced out the window and saw the source of the muddy footprints. A small patch of dirt had been disturbed outside my front door, and in the middle of it sat a single red balloon. It was the same shade of red as the one I had thrown away that morning. A shiver ran down my spine. How had I not noticed it before? The balloon had been stuck to the bottom of the door, hidden from view. But whoever or whatever had been here had kicked it free, leaving it as a calling card. A sick feeling filled my stomach. Could this be a warning of things to come? Days turned into weeks, but the memory of that night refused to fade. Every time I heard a noise or saw a shadow, I couldn't help but think back to those heavy footsteps and the chilling silence that followed. Then one night, just as I was beginning to feel like it had all been a dream, it happened again.